So good morning, good evening, good afternoon. We have the H-men are back in the house. What is the R-man? The R-man doesn't have the same kind of sound to it. The R-man, Raz. We've got Raz. But we've got the H-men back in the house. We've got Tim and Terry. Fellas, how have you been? The H-men.
Well, our local team has got through to the semi-final. So it's a good while since Arsenal got through to the semi-final. Sorry about that, lads. We're all excited. You know, doesn't take a lot to get us excited, really.
Tim, how you been, Tim? Long time.
Good. Yeah, we're sure. Like, I think it's been a very interesting kind of start to the season. There's been a lot of, how would I say that? I'm not terribly. I know Arsenal, maybe should have picked up more points than they did, but ultimately, I think they're moving in the right direction and things are looking positive enough. But we'll get stuck into that. But
get stuck into that. Ralph, how's it going, man?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just on the start of a few days off work. I've been working on my days off, so I'll probably get a slap on the wrist for that. But other than that, I've got my daughter, fingers crossed, at the weekend, and then we'll see what happens with the rest of the week. See if I can do another watch on, if I can squeeze that in as well. But just if you can see my room, I've got my old football kits everywhere. I've got some old clothes everywhere. I'm trying to, be as charitable as possible and get rid of some stuff. So that's where I am at the moment.
Nice one. Prosper, can you hear us?
Prosper.
He still can't hear us. Ralph, point to him because we can't hear you.
The P-man.
Let me send him a message. Let me send him a quick message.
Send him a message.
Yeah.
He looks rather. He looks like he's ready to go.
To go where? I'm not sure. Listen, I've sent him a message, but he needs to read the message and do something to his microphone. Yeah. Proves that we are going live anyway. But you know what? Let's talk about the first segment. Something about a League Cup game, Carabao Cup. We haven't won it in over 30 years, Tim.
Hey, all of Haley Prosper. I can afford a TV.
Hey.
Go on, Tim. Carry on, Tim.
The International Space Station went over.
But anyway, go back. Yeah, look, I was. I think on average, the Premier League teams made about 7 changes. All the Premier League teams made 7 changes, and Brentford were the lowest. They only made 2. So they're obviously kind of targeting it. They were hoping to get a win. Ultimately, we held out. Ramsdale, I suppose, although the team performance was poor, you'd have to say, that ultimately there was some good individual performances. Like Ramsdale, very good in goals. I'm going to murder this man's name again, but Kiwior was good at left back. Tommy Assen fairly good, and Reece Nelson maybe just hit form at just the right time because Trossard and Martinelli are going to be possibly unavailable for the match tomorrow, so he might just work his way into the team. So that's good overall. And actually, I was happy. I think it was early on. Do you remember Smith Rowe went through? It was a good chance early on, and he looks sharp now. He does look sharp. Now, there's always I'm a big fan of Smith Rowe, but I suppose the problem is consistency. Can he get a run free from injuries? Is his problem really? Can he get a series of matches like that?
Yeah. Ralph, thoughts about the Brentford game?
I was glad that we won, especially after the draw against them down the road. I saw the highlights. I was working on a late one, so I only saw the highlights. And from what I saw, I think Reece Nelson seemed like he wants to make a bit of a bold statement. Saka didn't play in that match, did he? So
thank God.
He seems to be collecting a few injuries. I did watch a bit of the press conference with Arteta earlier this afternoon. I didn't watch all of it. Just caught some bits, and we seem to be rather heavy on our injuries, and it does beg the question about how we're protecting our players. And Saka's been carrying our team for about at least 2 seasons, maybe going to 3 seasons. And it's not a good look if you're going to keep on relying on a youngster to try and help the rest of the team to share the load, so to speak. Yeah, so from a Carabao Cup kind of point of view, yeah, okay, we've won. How it bodes against the up-and-coming match against Brentford is another thing as well. Not Brentford, Bournemouth. It's another thing as well. So, yeah, so far, okay. So far, okay.
Prosper, you're back with us. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you clearly, brother.
Thank you. Finally.
Nice one. Thoughts about the game? Carabao Cup, Brentford. We just beat them.
Yes, we scraped through, but a win is a win. We scraped through, a win is a win. I was just looking at the ratings after the game, and players just managed to get, the best players just managed to get a 4.5 rating. That's on Google Analytics, but that's Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, Emile Smith-Rowe, and Nelson only managed to get a 4.5. No player went beyond 4.5. So it was a flat performance. If you look at shots on goal, it was 3 for Arsenal, I think, Brentford 4, then shots 18 for Brentford, Arsenal 10. So we just scraped through.
But like I say, a win is a win, isn't it?
A win is a win. We can take the win.
Yeah. Original Godfather. We just beat the Bees.
I'm glad you come to me because I've got it's a while. I've been to all our League Cup finals, starting with a couple of disasters, Leeds and then Swindon Town. Nightmare. As I said to Tim, I still can't pass Swindon on the M4 without getting a horrible feeling in my tummy. But I think we've been in 6 and lost 4. Okay. And personally, I don't believe all this media hype about the FA Cup and all of that's the senior competition. Yes, it was around before. I think it was the world's first ever association football cup final, cup competition. But you think about it, the teams that entered the League Cup are all league teams. So they're all half decent teams anyway. All right, you won't get a non-league team coming through, but they really, I can't remember a non-league team getting even through to the quarterfinals, you know. So personally, I see it. If you think about the way that they adorn, or they call it dressing, the Arsenal Stadium, and as you look round below club level, you've got all the trophies and all the dates, you know. Yeah. Well, the space for the League Cup in its different guises, different names, is just as big as the space for all the other cups.
Yeah, that's right.
And I love the League Cup, even though our record is not abysmal, because we managed to beat Liverpool in their pomp, like, you know. So, do you know what I think it is? I was listening to Arteta's press conferences, and if next time any of you listen to it, anybody listening in,
I don't listen to it, but anyway,
think about what he doesn't say. Don't think about what he says, because he's got all his answers prepared. Think about what he doesn't say, and I think his masters, remember, are Mr. Stan Kroenke and Mr. Josh Kroenke, yeah, and their organisation, and they are in this to make money. And the big picture, I'm absolutely convinced, and it's a pity we can't see his contract, but I'm sure it says something like "get top 4," not because Kroenke particularly, is destroyed if we come 5th, but financially he's destroyed. So he's all about Arsenal status as feeding it, if you like, the sort of top table. That's Kroenke's vibe, because, and you can see it happening, I know it was a failed attempt about 2 or 3 years ago, but there will be a new league being formed of super elite teams. Now, 2 or 3 years ago, they tried to form a team and they all jumped in, Arsenal included, Real Madrid, Barcelona, all these guys, Bayern Munich. They all jumped in and suddenly they had their fingers burnt because they tried to do it too soon. I'm not in favour of it, by the way, but I can see the way things are going, you know. And of course, now that the Saudi clubs are knee deep in money and spending a phenomenal amount of money on players, I can see a league that includes them. So suddenly, do you really think Kroenke and all these different, what would you call them, oligarchs that are now owning most of our clubs, including the Qataris up in Newcastle, do you think they're going to turn their back on a golden payday? Never in a million years. So the one thing that Arteta doesn't say is the big picture. That's the point I'm trying to make. He won't tell you the big picture. And what he does is, and it's a very good deflection, he just concentrates on the next game and maybe looks back a little bit at the last game. But that's not the real game he's playing. He's singing to the tune that Kroenke is asking him to sing to. And it's a longer, bigger, much more important agenda that's really going on. And
do we need to know the bigger picture? Do we need to know as normal fans who just follow the club and we want our club? Do we need to know what's really going on behind the scenes?
I think it's impossible personally. When I listen to what Arteta says, he's not telling me anything I couldn't have written myself. What I'd like to know is, why doesn't he ever mention the elephant in the room, which is this elite Super League? It's the elephant in the room. Yeah, funny enough, Tim and I were talking. Apparently, the Bournemouth Arsenal game tomorrow is on Irish television.
Yeah, it's on Irish trusted television.
And I'm quite surprised. I was wondering who paid money for that.
No, there's an agreement. There was always a 3:00 kickoff on Irish television. Not always, but for a lot of years, there's a kind of a local Irish channel, sports channel. It's Setanta Sports. It's called Premier Sports now. It used to be on Sports. So there was always a 3:00 kickoff. So tomorrow it just happens that the 3:00 kickoff is Bournemouth and Arsenal. So it's great. Like, so you get the, you have Irish comment. Shay Given now, for example, the ex Newcastle, he'd often be a pundit on it. Or what's in the your man Richard Dunn or Kenny Cullen. So it's Irish pundits would say on the day. But it'd be interesting tomorrow to see. But just to go on from something Terry said there a minute ago, like, there's no doubt about it that look, they're driven by this top four, and like, but Arteta has been a good, if that's the criteria, like, you want to look at it. I remember when Arteta, and I just saw that recently, that transfer market, that they value the squads, right? In 2019, I think, when Arteta took over the Arsenal squad, it was worth roughly around 600 million, and it was about 6th or 7th in the Premier League. Now, if you consider all the money, and I mean all the money is serious money that has been spent in the last 3 or 4 years, and you think of all the good, and let's be honest, like, Arteta came from Man City, like they say, Raheem Sterling, Kyle Walker, these are players often mention Arteta as being a key factor in their development. He was that good a coach at that time. But anyway, he has moved the present Arsenal squad up to over $1 billion, and it's only behind Man City. And obviously, if it's only behind Man City, that means it's ahead of Chelsea. So in other words, he has done a lot of positive things financially. If you're going to use the let's say cost analysis or the profit and loss sheet to analyze your football club, he has been a success. But he also needs to win something, and the League Cup is as equal value, as Terry pointed out, as a lot of the other competitions. I remember that League Cup final well. Do you remember Tony Adams? I think was that the year he was it Steve Morrow fell off his shoulder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember that Bet Sheffield Wednesday, at the time, and I know people mightn't rank Sheffield Wednesday terribly highly now, but they were a very good team. They had a very good, I remember Carter Palmer and what was his name, John Sheridan, the Irish midfield. They had a good solid midfield, they had a good workman. They weren't bad, like, and actually, if memory serves me right, they bet him in both finals that year. They bet him in the FA Cup final, and
That's right.
So it was kind of they're a good. So that was a good win, and I think Arteta maybe he's going to like he did utilize it well. Like when I had a big issue, I think the last time maybe I was on Easy Talk, or maybe actually I was watching Easy Talk, that I felt the squad was the Arsenal squad strong enough for all these competitions. But you'd have to say, looking at the other night, it looked like a good squad. Like now they didn't gel together well, but I think you always have that issue. If you make a good few changes, you gel, and like they're going to be under pressure tomorrow as well, because there could be some of these people, like particularly Nelson, he could definitely be playing again. And I'd say Jorginho could be playing again, because if Declan Rice is still injured, he won't be playing tomorrow. So and Jorginho was reasonably good. Now he wasn't. He was so bad against Tottenham, but you know what I mean. He was reasonably poor, reasonably proficient. I'd say is the word I'd use the other night. So look, from that point of view, it's a very important, let's say, cog in the wheel. And do you remember one year? I'd say the year Arsenal finished fifth. There was a guy. He was a Portuguese guy, Tavares. He was playing fullback in a League Cup match against Nottingham Forest, and we were beaten in early January. And I often said it was an awful bad kind of decision by Arteta that year, because he was trying to develop players, and there was players on that team that were, they needed those matches. So that's the thing about it. You need these matches. Putting players in, like Arsenal have been very lucky with some of their transfers, or in general with their transfers, in comparison to think of what the money other clubs are spending. But you do need, like Arteta, let him be the greatest coach in the world. Nothing improves players like game time. You get to see them in the intensity of a competition against equally quality players, and then you can make a clear, well, are they progressing or are they not? So that's why I believe
Prosper. Sorry, Terry. Sorry. One second. I need to go to Prosper. Prosper, I know you are not Mikel Arteta's greatest fan. I know you have questions about our number 29. Come in number 29, wherever you are. I'm going to give you the opportunity, Prosper, to talk about your thoughts on our number 29. Come in number 29, wherever you are. Go for it, Prosper.
Okay. In the first place, I'm one of those Mikel Arteta who was a diehard Mikel Arteta fan. I really had him on my heart. Then, as Terry said, Terry opened the whole can of worms. He does
that.
He just opened another dimension which I didn't figure myself till today. Terry's spoken about the Arsenal agenda, the big agenda behind the curtains that we don't see. And literally, this is the agenda that has changed Arteta from the first time he came to Arsenal. When Arteta came to Arsenal, it was about winning games and winning trophies. Now, he's about getting what the boss tells him to do, getting the job done, the boss's job done. So you can literally tell. I mean, where do we have the cutoff point for the process? The process must have an end point. When does it mature? It seems to be going through an infinite loop, you see? So when do we say Arteta has failed? When do we say Arteta has got it right, or we need change? And this comes to the same applies for jersey number 29. When do we put on a cutoff point and say, okay, fine, we've given him enough opportunity? Honestly, he's had more opportunity than Emile Smith-Rowe ever had. Emile Smith-Rowe will always come from bench. If he plays from the starting lineup from the first whistle, it has to come after somebody else is injured, which is not all right. But jersey number 29 has had all the opportunities in the world. He hasn't done anything. Honestly speaking, I'm not usually speaking on the point where we have to talk about him as probably we hate or love. We don't hate or love any player, but we have to look at the facts on the ground. He's a 6-foot-something player, and for an attacking midfielder, his height doesn't do him good. No. If you are that tall, you should be as good as Yaya Toure in ball handling. or you should be versatile like Muller, you know, be more athletic, have more drive. What does Havertz give to Arsenal? Does he drive into the box? Does he carry the ball? Does he make those intelligent passes? Does he start a move? You know, some players can start a move, like Emile Smith Rowe would start a move, find himself in the box, and knock a goal. What does Havertz bring to the team? You see, so those are the things I look at, and his height doesn't do him well, because in that position, especially for English football, you have to be nimble, you have to be small, low center of gravity, and make quick turns, you know. And that's where Pep Guardiola gets it right, because after that, is it Silva? He got another. Is it Silva again? The attacking midfield. Yes. All small players, all nimble players, very difficult to handle. Like we had Leb, you know. Those are the kind of players, and Emile Smith Rowe is an exact replica of Alexander Leb.
Yeah.
You see, so honestly,
Prosper, can I ask you this question? You know, you said that our number 29, coming number 29, is not doing anything. Then why do you think Mikel Arteta will continuously play this player? Even though for me, he looks like he's lost his confidence. He looks like I'm not sure if he knows what he's supposed to be doing. So why is it you think Mikel Arteta will continue playing the number 29? Is it because we've paid so much money for him that he feels literally obligated? He's got to play this player. I don't know. What is it?
Exactly. If it's all about justifying his buy, it's not about football anymore. He has to convince the board somehow that he made a good decision. You see, because if you for example, if he bought jersey number 29 at say 20-something million, 30 million, he would be on bench right now. And if he didn't buy him from Chelsea, I mean, I would really understand if he came from the Portuguese league or any other league, but he's been in the EPL for, is it 2 seasons at Chelsea at a top club?
3 seasons.
3 seasons at a top club. And he was in the Bundesliga at top clubs. So he's not just an average player from nowhere. This is a professional player. He already adjusted to the league. So why is he failing to perform? So he has no excuse. Honestly, he has to be on the bench. Not that I hate him, but he has to buy his way in the team. He has to prove himself, you know?
But is he a defensive midfielder or is he an attacking midfielder?
Actually, at Chelsea, I saw him more of a centre forward. I only learned that he's a midfielder at Arsenal. You know, that's when I went to check his profile, because mostly at Chelsea he played as a centre forward.
Okay.
See, a false number 9 or something.
Yeah. All right. So, is there anything else you want to say, Prosper? I want you to get it out of your system. Get everything out, Prosper. Get it out.
Uh-huh.
Is that it?
I just feel like as Arsenal fans and as soccer fans, before Arsenal, we were all soccer fans. We just found ourselves loving teams because of probably, for me, Arsenal, because there was players like Nwankwo Kanu, Ian Wright mostly. The black player there, and I was like, okay, fine, I can relate to this. And that's how I joined Arsenal. Then the Kanus came in, and I just got glued. There was all this, you know, mixed color, all kinds of players from all over the world were at Arsenal. So it was the right fit for me. But we forget as soccer fans that we were there before Mikel Arteta came. For Mikel Arteta, it's just a job. Probably he's a fan of another club. You know, he can't just speak it out openly on media, but he has his heart somewhere else. So if you don't put off the cutoff point for these processes and players, if he gets an offer from, say, Barcelona or Madrid, and if that's his team of the heart, he will definitely leave Arsenal without blinking. And where would that leave us? When we get another manager, start another process, another 5 years, we'll have 20 years down the line, no trophy, nothing to show for it. And Terry and team spoke about something else, where we're going into this infinite loop of 4th position. You know, we've had so many 4th positions. I would like us to challenge for the EPL league. And that's where it hurts me, because the transfer business that happens doesn't seem to look like we're challenging for a trophy. You know, everything that's happening in the background doesn't seem to look like we're challenging for a big trophy. It's like we staying there just to keep up appearances for number 4 position. Business as usual.
Okay. Go on, Tim, very quickly.
One point. So, look, Prosper made a lot of very, very bad points there. And look, I'm not going to disagree, but the way it's gone now at the moment, you look at the formations. Let's say we have our attacking front three, be it Martinelli, Jesus, and Saka. We'll call those our centre forward or 2 wingers. But when we're attacking, we seem to attack as 5. So in other words, you have Odegaard, and we call it Kai Havertz as the other 2. Now, in recent times, Jesus has kind of not maybe been played outside, out the wing some of the time. He's also obviously kind of maybe coming off the bench 1 or 2 matches. So we have ended up with a front 5 sometimes of Jesus on the wing, Eddie Nteke up front, Saka on the right, Odegaard and Kai Havertz. And there's no way that you're going to beat Man City, Liverpool, and would say Brighton, just with a front 5 that contains Kai Havertz and Eddie Nteke. No way. That is not going to happen. You cannot. So there has to be a hard decision made on, well, if I'm going with one of these, I have to drop the other. Like, I mean, I'm not saying drop Havertz, but putting on Kai Havertz and Eddie Nteke in a central position, you are nullifying your attack. There is not enough trust, there's not enough creativity that they have to make a decision to play Gabriel Jesus up front, and he really has to only play, in my eyes, one of Havertz and Nteke. Because if you want
Tim, I mean, what is Mikel Arteta asking Kai Havertz to do? To be a sitting midfielder? Someone's going to link up the play? What is he asking Kai Havertz to do?
Well, I think he expects him to be that kind of attacking link player, to play kind of behind the front 3. But he's not. It seems like that. Like, I mean, I remember when he was with Chelsea, he scored that goal. Brilliant. He scored in the Champions League final time they won it. And remember, it was Timo Werner was the front man, and they had him and Mason Mount were either side. Right. And he was kind of good on that role. And like, I remember when he came to Chelsea, he came from, I think it was Bayer Leverkusen, wherever he came from anyway. He he was a big talent. They paid £72 million for him. And like, that's a savage money. And like, but at that stage they were thinking this guy could win the Ballon d'Or. That was the terms they were talking in. They were buying, like, it was classic, like, it was like getting Saka now, if you know what I mean. Even younger. He was younger than Saka. He was only, like, I'd say 20 when he came to Chelsea first. Like, now, he had a reasonable time under Tuchel, but sure, he went way off under Potter. And I think he's still recovering from that.
But Tim, you say he nearly won the Ballon d'Or.
Well, no,
he could have done. Yeah. He could have done. At the moment, he can't hit a barn door.
Yeah. my ultimate point is that their front 5, as they're attacking at the moment, is 2 of the 5, 40% of them have no scoring threat. So he has to look at the ensemble. Like, Prosper is right, but equally he has to be looking, is he giving opportunities? And I don't want to be too hard on Eddie Nteke, but to me, he has plateaued. He developed there a bit last year, but towards this year now, I have seen nothing. He has plateaued. He has reached his. I mean, there was one chance against Spurs, I think, and he was a real, what I would call an Ian Wright chance. A ball coming in the back post. He was arriving. If Ian Wright got that, it was a goal 9 times out of 10. Eddie Nteke got it, missed it. Yeah. As I said, to me, that's typical of it this season. He's not putting those, what he would call finishers' chances away.
Yeah. Tim, Ralph, I remember this is a real Arsenal devotee answer now. Think back about 2 seasons, and we played Sunderland at home in the League Cup. And Arteta, and they were 2 leagues below us, two divisions below us. Arteta scored a hat-trick. He looked dynamite. And I thought, that's his level.
Nteke, yeah.
Nteke. Yeah. That's his level. Now, yes, Arteta likes him because he's a good lad. He doesn't cause trouble. He plays his heart out. He worries defenders, all those wonderful things. But you need more at the elite level. You need what we saw with Henry or Ian Wright would be a perfect example. Smallish guy, but he had an eye for goal. And he had that when he first came to Arsenal. We improved all his other things, his touch and his vision, but he still had that magic that all great goal scorers have. One quick point. When Dennis Bergkamp came, he took 10 years. He
10 years.
He took 10 matches before he scored. Henry, something similar. So you, in a way, you've got to cut Havertz a little bit of slack, but I don't see it. I was watching him every last 2 or 3 matches, and he looks as though all he wants to do is pass the ball sideways or backwards. As if somebody said, I'm docking you $1,000 every time you play the ball forward. So all he's ever doing is sideways, back, sideways. And he's a 6'4" guy. He never uses his weight. He doesn't. He looks like a big man that's playing amongst little kids, and he's frightened to hurt them. You know. So he's looking down at all these guys and go, I've got to go easy with them. You know, he should be putting his weight about. He's a massive unit. You know, and don't forget he plays for Germany's international team still. Yeah. So I'm not saying he's average, but if he's anything other than average, I haven't seen it.
Ralph, a lot to unravel there, Ralph.
Yeah, I've just been making notes from everyone's observations, and actually on my screen, I'm just going over the highlights of the Carabao Cup against Brentford. Okay, so if we just peel it back a little bit, Arteta press what he says or what he doesn't say in his pre-match or post-match deliberations. I have to take it as read. I have to take it from what I guess I kind of see, and try and hope that what he says and what he does kind of mirrors the way that the team's going to go. There's no doubt that last season nobody was expecting us to be where it was going to end up. No one. I mean, we all wish that we want to win it, but no one thought that we was going to do or go on that kind of wave that we should have, that we were. And I think the past teams, winning teams of Arsenal, would have won that Premiership.
Yeah.
They would have won that Premiership. So that's pretty much like a given. Okay. Now, if you're going to start dissecting the team, I'm looking. I literally made a list. What I'm seeing at the moment, and what I've written down here, is like miles apart. When I see Arsenal, when I do a watch along, and my heart always goes to the fans who actually go to the match, because you see the match in segments. You see wherever you see it, unless you're on top and you can actually see the way that we play, or if you're at home and you got multiple camera angles, you can pretty much see the way that Arsenal plays. I don't know what the standard of play is for Arsenal. If I have to be totally honest, I'm not a statistician or a strategic kind of guy. I'm a old school 4-4-2. If you want me to break it down in those kind of perimeters, but when I watch Arsenal, when I watch them defend, we give the opposition too much ball. We give them free kicks in or around in the third. We don't have the discipline to say, you know what? If they're going to try and hurt us, let them hurt us from their end. I say this time and time again. We don't seem to have the technical nous or the understanding, no matter how many times that we lose against teams that we should beat. We always say, we take the positives. Well, to me, we've got a shed load of positives, but we don't act on it. So does that mean that the manager stroke coach is not tactically sound enough, or he's not ruthless enough? We always said this last season, that he should be ruthless. Now, if he's been ruthless, he's given a goalkeeper who was on current form, went to international break. He got a goalkeeper in, and 2 clean sheets. All of a sudden, he's the best thing since sliced bread. So you already made odds with your goalkeeper. Now Ramsdale, it really does take a mentally strong character to say, you know what, I was number 1. Now my manager's gone with a new signing, and he's already got 2 clean sheets.
But there's nothing wrong with that, Ralph. There's nothing wrong with competition all over the pitch, even the goalkeeper.
No, I understand that. I understand this. There's nothing wrong with competition. But what I'm saying is, competition is good, but you don't. For me, you don't take your number 1 unless he's injured, unless there's a yellow card, unless there's something is a loss of form. To me, Ramsdale was on good form, and I still think. I mean, it's ifs, ands, buts, and maybes don't make anything. But on his current form, I reckon that maybe he could have saved 2 goals against them down the road. But we're not going to know that for now. For now, it's 2-2. Okay, it's 2-2. So that's my 1 is the manager, and number 2 is the goalkeeper. When you look at our defenders, he had Partey as right back. Now Partey was injured, so then he had to have Gabriel back in. He's done the same thing with Gabriel. What he's done with Ramsdale. Why did he put Gabriel off 2 or 3 matches and then introduce them? When he introduced them back into the fold, into the team, we started having a bit more surety in the team with defense and goalkeeping.
Yeah, I think with Gabriel there was an issue between Gabriel and the coach. That's why he was dropped. So something happened there. Yeah. Okay,
but so Gabriel to me hasn't changed. if you're talking about attitude, he hasn't changed because it still goes head in.
Yeah,
he works very hard. The midfield. So here we are with shoehorning Kai Havertz, and I'm trying to make a list. I'm trying to remember the defender that we got from Chelsea. Big set of hair. I can't get his name. I can see his face.
David Luiz.
David Luiz. Okay, so David Luiz, Jorginho, Willian, and we can go further back. We have to ex-Chelsea players that we're shooing into an Arsenal formation. Now, there's no doubt that they may have the kind of expertise, Kai Havertz, for winning the Champions League, but that's the Champions League. We haven't put him in, or we placed him in a Champions League match, 1 match. Okay, we haven't built enough experience with the rest of the other players. So if you're trying to get the other players to be on the level with Kai Havertz, it's a mismatch. It's not going to happen. If you're going to try and if you're shoehorning a player because he's cost a lot of money and he's low in confidence, why do you put him in high-level matches? He didn't turn up against Man United. He didn't turn up against them down the road. You're putting more pressure on him. So what you're trying to do, again, is back to the manager. And there's nothing worse, I feel, that for a player trying to get his confidence, not on form, in a team that is wanting to go somewhere.
So Ralph, a quick question. So do you think that he should have earned his place first rather than being put him straight in?
Yeah. Look at Pepe. Pepe, the same thing with Pepe. We shoehorned him in because he's got more goals than Kai Havertz. That's a different position, isn't it? Different position. But still, they came in. They came in with a high ticket value. That they're going to turn the team around. And look what's happened. We've gone through this process of learning from our mistakes, and we're still repeating them. So I don't understand the level of play that we have, the style of play that we have, the reason why we're getting ex-Chelsea players to try trying to bolster up young players who from hell end have to sit on the bench and wait for their turn. Look at Emile Smith-Rowe. You can't tell me that there's not a more deserving player than Emile Smith-Rowe. Okay, we've got injuries. Look at Tierney. Tierney's gone out now. Tierney's gone on loan. You can't tell me Tierney couldn't have been in the side that we've got at the moment. Now we've got a few injuries hitting us. And then to me, the main event now, strikers. I was saying at the beginning we need a striker. Based on what happened last season, you can't be telling me that we didn't need a striker that can just go in, big, imposing, can hold the ball. I was asking for Romelu Lukaku. We didn't get him. I was thinking, well, you know what? Ivan Toney, despite the challenges that he has with him, not being in the team because of the charges put against him. But I'll take Ivan Toney tomorrow because I know he's going to score goals.
But wouldn't we have to change the way that we play? I mean, predominantly, he scored a lot of his goals for Brentford from the penalty spot. But if we were to sign an Ivan Toney, Prosper, wouldn't we have to change the way that we play?
Yeah, it's just going back to what Rowe said. What system does Arsenal play right now? I'm also lost. What's our style of play? What's our key area, especially in the attacking third? Even the midfield. Like before the show started, I was thinking, okay, fine. As we are right now, we are weaker in the midfield. I think this is the weakest midfield we've ever had in Arsenal history.
Well, for a long time.
Yeah. So, okay, can't we play 3-5 or 3-something, but 3 at the back, more midfielders, just to beef up the top line? Because if you look at how Jesus plays, he's not supposed to be having so many touches as a center forward if he's up there, not in the sides. But he is forced to have so many touches because the midfield is weak. They can't create any ball. There's Havertz there who can't create for him. That's why Eddie Nketiah can't score. Because if you look at the players that we have up front, in terms of style of play, Eddie Nketiah is not a player who's going to take on 2 defenders, dribble them, and score. He's the kind of player who wants a through ball, and using his pace, he just taps it in. He's the kind of player maybe I would liken him to the player's name has just gone. Short player. He used to be a short center forward in the English Premier League, but he was just about tapping those balls in. Defoe.
Lineker.
Yeah, Lineker, Defoe as well. Jermaine Defoe.
Yeah.
Not so much, but it's about pace and somebody pushing that ball in the space, So that you have to understand your players. But if you're going to put in Eddie Nketiah in a game where you have to play a press kind of system, where players have to have that ball handling skill, then you won't see Eddie Nketiah. That's why Havertz was a bad buy. Why? Because Chelsea's kind of football is you put pressure on them, they will hit you with a counter-attack with the N'Golo Kantes, all the athletes they have. So they don't. The strikers don't have to do a lot of dribbling, starting from the DJ Drogbas and all. It's the same basic Chelsea. They don't have to do a lot of dribbling, a lot of ball handling skills. All they have to have is that pace and tenacity to handle long periods of time playing the game. That's why you find that most Chelsea top players who are taken at Chelsea, like Havertz, they failed at Madrid. And so many good players that have gone to Chelsea, like Samuel Eto'o, who is this? Fernando Torres. There's also this guy, Andrei Shevchenko, top strikers, but they go to Chelsea, they fail because the football is all different. You can have a top striker, but if the football philosophy at Arsenal is totally different from Chelsea, you won't get anything. You see, so right now we don't have a system.
But I think Arteta's trying to get the players to, much like Liverpool back when Klopp was the manager there, the high pressing game. Yeah. And I saw that against Tottenham, they ran out of steam. They couldn't press anymore.
Yeah. After half an hour, they were dead in the ground.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Can I just say something, Alex? If you're going to play a high pressing game, tell me which player do we have in Arsenal, especially in the midfield, that's a good ball handler. In terms of Barcelona, you used to have Busquets, Iniesta, Xavi. Those guys will give the ball and they won't just give it away. They will really give you a headache. In terms of Man City, you have Silva, De Bruyne, Who's the other guy? The German guy?
Gundogan, yeah.
Gundogan. Those guys just don't give away possession easily. Who do we have at Arsenal who can hold the ball that neatly with nimble feet?
Odegaard. But go back to the Man City thing for a minute. Jack Grealish, this is just to fill you in. And I know Terry was saying give him 10 years. I wouldn't give him 10 years to settle in. but Jack Grealish they paid 100 million for Jack Grealish, and he's spent a whole year on the subs bench. That's how long it took to get indoctrined into Pep Guardiola. And remember, that's kind of a lot of what we have is that, as I call it, horizontal tiki-taka. But Ivan Toney and Erling Haaland are very similar. They're big strikers, and Man City were able to obviously very much able to fit him into their system. So it can be done, but it will involve a lot of coaching. And like you said, you cannot. The other players around have to be working very hard. Do you remember the kind of John Stones was being shoved into midfield by Man City? They were supplementing their midfield to allow themselves to have Haaland standing up front by himself, waiting for this kind of long ball or the 50-50 chance against a good centre half. So it can be done, but just remember, 10 years or 1 year if you're Grant Zachary.
Ralph, go on. You want to say something, Ralph?
If I can just add.
Yeah.
So when you got on the wings, you got Martinelli and Saka. To me, they are the most predictable. They're the most predictable attacking thread that we've got, because that's the reason why they are marked 2 or maybe 3 times. You know, Saka's going to go wide, and cut back in. Martinelli, the amount of times I've seen Martinelli, and because some of the players can't keep up with him, because when he goes on the break, he's like a 100 meter sprinter. I want him just to go on and go. I can't see the reasons why, when you have the advantage, the amount of times I've seen is outside the box, not have a shot. We have a shot, it goes in. Brilliant. Why don't you have that kind of attacking now? So think, you know what, let me try a few more shots outside the box. Yeah. Why is it that we have to walk the ball in every time we attack?
Because maybe Arteta's told him to play like that, Ralph.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. You know what? I would rather be fined every week when I play, but still scoring goals than to the ball. Yeah, well, the amount that they'll probably pay for me, I'll probably be worth it. But the amount of times that I have to, I'm not a player that if I'm 1-on-1 with a defender like Wrighty used to be, like Thierry used to be, fair enough. You do it then. But if I've got about 4 or 5 of my playmates literally outside the box, I'll be thinking, hang on a minute now, what are you doing? Have a shot on goal, and I'll be on them. I will literally be on them. The amount of times I've done it here on the watch along, I think actually that's the reason why he's labelled me Mad Ralph, is because I just get so frustrated because we have an opportunity to put the opposition down early, and we don't do it, and then we go down a goal down, 2 goals down. You have to look at Brentford. You have to look at Bournemouth. You have to look at Aston Villa, and you can't be telling me. I'm a bit wary for a match tomorrow, if I have to be honest, because we don't have. I think from what I've heard again from the press conference, Rice, Martinelli, Trossard's picked up a strain. Saka's a strain. Fabio Vieira's a strain. Partey, I don't know what's happening with Partey. If it's going to be, how long he's going to be off for. You know, we already got about 6-7 players on the treatment table, and this is our 7th game in.
Ralph, we've not lost, Ralph. We've not lost.
Hang on.
We haven't lost yet, but we can't be treating this. I think we're treating this a bit lightly. Oh, okay, we've won or we've drawn. When we've got, actually, Tim pulled up a really good mention. Brighton are no mugs.
Yeah.
Newcastle put 8 past Sheffield United at the weekend.
Who? Oh, Sheffield United. All right. Sorry, Ralph. It's only Sheffield United, Ralph.
Yeah, but I think Ralph has hit on something important there. when you think Partey was almost never injured until we signed him. Rice, almost never injured. Wasn't he 100% for West Ham last season?
Timber. You're a Timber.
Timber.
1 match or 2 matches.
Yeah. So I think he's overtraining the players or training them incorrectly. Yeah. That's the first thing. And I also think, listen, Arteta plays the football in his head a lot, and he wants intelligent players. But as Wenger showed us, sometimes you've got to throw it onto the team and the players themselves and say, right, I've shown you this and we've practiced this, but now you guys gel. You guys find a way of making, because it's not just the coach and you're like chess pieces. You aren't chess pieces that the coach is moving around. So, and if you're going out there and your head is full of, should I play that one? No, forget it. I'll play that one. Actually, that's what Havertz looks like, doesn't he?
Yeah. You know what, Terry, as well, what I still kind of find annoying is looking at Mikel Arteta on the sideline, still barking out instructions.
That's terrible.
Just let them get on with it. Let them get on with it.
Yeah, just to add on what Ralph said, and Terry just scratched a bit on what Ralph said. You look at Martinelli. When Martinelli just came in the team, he would go wide, he would cut in. And he was very effective. He would try goals from the far post. To me, he was like Thierry Henry when he just came in.
Yeah.
Then for some strange reason, we had that Xhaka period. Arteta had to push Xhaka up front a lot to accommodate Xhaka, which meant Martinelli can't cut in because there's Xhaka there. You see? So he had to force Martinelli to go wide. And then that was the beginning of problems. Now we have, on Saka's side, you will never find Odegaard blocking Saka there. You see, but on Martinelli's side, there's always a player on a position where Martinelli is supposed to cut in. Ever since, for some strange reason, Arteta had to ask Martinelli to be going wide always. But when who is this other Trossard comes in, he's allowed to go in the middle. And then you wonder why the double standards. Why doesn't he let? I mean, Martinelli is the kind of player you let to run free. You know, he's a Brazilian intelligent player, natural intelligent player. Let him run free, make decisions when he's out there and get you goals. The same applies for other midfielders. And I'm sure Martinelli cannot play freely because he's afraid of what will happen to him when he doesn't play according to what the coach does. And that's why the manager is always having a problem with Gabriel or any other player. Now, players are afraid to express themselves at Arsenal because they fear any small thing with Arteta, you'll be on the bench. Next thing, you're going to be sold.
That's it, Prosper. Just get it out of the system, Prosper. Tim, anything to say before we go to live? There you go, Tim. Yeah, go.
This was well timed, this thing. But myself and Prosper, I think, are in two different camps. But I think I admire what Arteta has done in the sense that I think he's made the squad stronger. I think he's made the whole system more robust. He's moved things forward. But he came out after one of the matches and he said in this match we tried 36 different formations. I mean, firstly, if you had done that, would you be admitting it openly in public, or would you be getting some specialist for OCD? I think I have a problem, because that is ridiculous. This is just jumping off the deep end, and so he's overdoing that. But I do admire. I always think, and what makes me believe that he could get Havertz right is that Havertz is young. He's 24. He has developed those type of players at Man City. He's obviously developed Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli. He's developed those players at Arsenal. So he has a reasonably good proven record of developing players. But what I do feel is that I don't think his expectation, or I don't think that his development of players like Vieira and Smith Rowe they have been stagnated, because Havertz is getting this game time. And like Vieira, do you remember the goal? I don't know who's do you remember Martinelli had a goal disallowed about two matches back?
Against Everton.
Yeah. And do you remember the pass Vieira put in for that? It was just an unbelievable pass. Yeah. And like I was saying, looking at that, like if I was looking at that pass, I'd say, look, Havertz, we will develop you and we will improve you. But this player is now in form. We need to give him a couple of matches here to see, can we bring him to the next level? Because remember, Vieira, when he came first, he no more than Parker, no more. He really did struggle with the physicality. While this year, he seems to be going a bit better. He seems to be able to compete. And like a Vieira-Smith-Rowe combo might be equally, probably more effective than the Havertz kind of game time that they're giving. Because Ralph made a very valid point. We drew with Fulham, and now we've drawn with Spurs, and Man City are pulling away. You know what I mean? You can't, like, draws aren't losses, I know, but the gap gets wider and wider, and you're waiting for this blip. Like, one year, didn't Man City finish on 100 points? That year, there was no blip. So you have to be very careful. You don't want to get too far back.
Let me go to a live chat for the first time this evening. And we've got Gooner Matters. Glenn Winner says, hey, Gooners, Alex, Raz, and not the Hogan twins. The Hogan twins? The H-Men. Emerson says, good evening, Alex, Ralph, and the Hogan twin. What's going on, the Hogan twins?
Hogan Heroes. That's what it is.
Hogan Heroes. And then we have Carl, who's our resident Liverpool supporter. 89. Sorry, guys. And we've got Luke, who says, my sister and brother-in-law for my birthday, 2 tickets to see Northampton play on 11. Button, I'm not sure what you're saying there. I'm not understanding that. He says Brentford were robbed. He's having a laugh. He's having a laugh. John the Geezer Gooner says, good evening, Gooners. Good evening. Well, even Carl, Spurs are tomorrow. Tough game. And we've got DWTT. Gary says, hello. There's an echo here. Here. And who else do we have? We've got the Assemble. It says, good evening, gentlemen. What's this? 25 squid again. I was getting for 22 men punch-ups on a Sunday. What's going on there? God, goodness. It's a podcast. What's going on there? The Assemble says, question, Tim. What, in your opinion, has improved under this present regime, and what hasn't improved that needs to be improved since he got here?
Well, the biggest improvement is when he got him, they were like about 6th in the league, and they were barely hanging on to that kind of 6th position. Now, last year, they finished 2nd behind Man City, and if they had held up their form, maybe if the injuries is the big thing. Like, Saliba went down last year, and look, I'm a big Gabriel fan, and Ralph touched it earlier. A very honest player, really honest player. White, Joe Goodfair, but Saliba is the glue. He's the man. He's the Virgil van Dijk. We'll say John Terry for Chelsea. Paul McGrath, want to go back far enough. These Tony Adams in Arsenal before that. He was the man that was keeping that back four together. And when he went missing, the whole thing fell apart. And ultimately, we ran out of steam. And Alex touched on it. After about 40 minutes the last day, we were hanging on. We were just hanging on, and that's what I'd be afraid of. It's overtraining or just that high press play. Or I know it's a high press, high intensity, maybe more than high press, but like that high intensity game, trying to keep that up for a whole season while competing across 4 competitions. That's a big ask. Even though I am impressed with the squad, I have to say, I think the squad is very reasonably strong and more stronger than I actually thought it was. And I think actually, funny enough, is that the squad seems to have a bit of versatility about it. Your man started off against Brentford, Kiwar started off at left back. I think he finished up at centre half, and he played reasonably well. And definitely, obviously, the front players are kind of there. You could Trossard and Martinelli, you can move those around. But we do look. I think Arsenal, to win a competition, need a centre forward. The 20-goal a season centre forward is what they really need to get over the line.
And it screams out that, and Arteta, if he's worth the money they're paying him, should have been thinking about that all summer or long before. Where all the years that I've watched Arsenal, we've always had a tall guy, a forward, whether it be Giroud, he's still playing. I know he was. Yeah. If you have those, you've got another way of attacking the team.
Yeah. Prosper, I know my brother spoke about the situation with the goalkeeping. You know, what's your thoughts about Arteta buying David Raya for competition or as a number one? What are your thoughts about that, Prosper?
Buying David Raya is not a problem. It was a smart move. But I don't think Ramsdale was benched or he's been put as second choice based on merit per se. I don't think it's that. I think it's something to do more with the character Ramsdale is. Ramsdale is a hothead. He would say something, and that would piss off Arteta, and it's done. I don't think it's about, it's rare that we have goalkeepers really change, especially just a few games into the season, and all of a sudden we've got a new number one.
Yeah.
That's strange. That's an old one. It's not on merit. It's not on football teams now.
Okay. Here's one from Carl who says, as a Liverpool fan, I think Smith Rowe is so underrated. Doesn't Arteta rate him, Ralph?
There you go. And that's coming from a Liverpool fan. Liverpool fan can see that. Emile Smith Rowe, I remember when he came onto the scene, and I was thinking, where's his shin pads? Because he's going to get kicked. But he's got that kind of like Grealish, kind of like ball control. He knows where to place it. He knows where to go. The only thing I was very fearful of was the fact that the amount of games that we were playing in and the intensity. I was very careful. I was concerned about him and Saka when they first, came onto the scene. And out of the two of them, potentially Reece Nelson as well. At the three, one is the shining light, and it's Saka. But it's almost become a bit more detrimental to Saka. We've relied on it. He's become player of the year, player of the month, everything else, scoring goals for Arsenal and England. And in the meantime, when Emile Smith Rowe had that dip in form and he came back and he went back off again because he was injured, it's like, okay, well, what you carry on with your recuperation, the team continues. And when the team continues, you're fighting for your place. Competition, I don't mind competition for places, but where my mind tends to flip is if you're playing well, and the manager takes you off, and you've taken the place of someone, and you've got to prove yourself, and you prove yourself. Okay, so you've got natural competition, but if you do it just because you want to me that makes the situation far worse for both players rather than for the team as a whole. So Emile Smith Rowe, to me now, fingers crossed, he's got opportunity, and he's got to grab it. But I'm fearful that if he gets injured again, then it could be, well, you know what, we may have to look for somebody else.
All right. So John Nagiza has posed this question to me. I can't answer this question. I really can't. You guys know that I love this guy, Liam Brady. So I'll put the question out to Tim and Terry. How much would Liam Brady be worth now?
Well, he'd definitely be double 665 million.
You are not worth more. He'd be worth more. The most expensive players in the Premier League at the moment are central midfielders. Declan Rice, Enzo Fernandez, what's his man, Casido, the guy from they're all 120 million. Liam Brady's a 150 million pound player at the moment, and that is being conservative. Yeah. And actually, the Saudis were going giving 200 million for Mo Salah. So like I said, he'd be value at 150 million. Yeah. Now, is Kai Havertz value at 65
But you know
million?
what? I think Liam Brady nowadays wouldn't fit into Arteta's system. Because Liam Brady, if you analyse him, he didn't have great pace. He never had great pace. He was okay at tackling back, but not sort of wonderful. But here he had other traits. The way Arteta does it, looks at them like chess pieces. And with Liam Brady, he just had some magic that nobody else could kind of read him.
Yeah.
You know, he'd play when he played in the Italian league. You know, even the best defenders in the world couldn't stop him. He had that magic dust. He had something magical. He was inventive. He was creative. Now, I got a feeling that somehow Arteta, with all his overcoaching, he's squeezing the creativity. I mean, listen, when Arsenal attack, you can see the 5 attacking spaces, okay? Wide left, wide right, down the centre, and sort of 2 half spaces. You can just read it. And we're basically punters. So if we can read it, top tacticians and the guys that work for all the clubs, they can read it. And I think he's just relying far too much on tactics and not enough on what I would call players making teamwork happen, players forming friendships, relationships on the pitch. Wenger used to say, when things get tough, let the players work it out. And I don't see enough of little triangles going on because these players are working on it together. They're all waiting for the sort of guru. You know, the big guru Arteta is saying, do this. I would hate to play for him. You know, and to be honest, if he was a teacher in school, wouldn't he drive you nuts?
Yeah.
There's only one way of doing this. And if you're going to try and solve that aquatic equation a different way, you're in big trouble.
No, well, he says it wouldn't be one way, it would be 36 ways of doing it. And which one are we on now?
Prosper. Go on.
The cricket analogy, the West Indies team, one of the documentaries I was watching, one of the guys said that how actually it's Andy, it's Michael Holding. Michael Holding said how Andy Roberts made him a better bowler. When you've got 4 pacemen, but one of them is the way that he would do a bouncer, may look like a bouncer, may look like a normal ball, but he had a bit more pace to it. But Andy Roberts can set you up, and he kind of taught Michael Holding how to become a bit more lethal. That's the reason why he was called Whispering Death. So for me, when I see a striker like Jesus, if you're gonna have somebody like Jesus up front, of course during training, if I was Eddie, I'd be saying, well, hang on a minute now. You know what? I can see Jesus probably likes the ball on his right. He likes to play off to the defender's shoulder. You know, how do I adapt that kind of mentality? I like Martinet. Martinet has got pace, but maybe he's not composed. So it's, for me, I'll be looking at those kind of players to see how I can improve my game. I don't think some of those players do that. I think they're so focused on trying to play the game expansively from Arteta's point of view, rather than taking ownership and saying, you know what, when I get the ball, I know how I'm going to play it. I know if I'm going to be outside the box and there's nothing on, I'm going to try a shot. I don't think they have that kind of technical nous.
Prosper, I think this statement is aimed at our number 29, coming number 29. Ian Rush took a few years to become a great goal scorer. Everyone wants instant results. Now, didn't Henry take time to find form? Some players need time. I think it's all about number 29, Prosper. He needs time.
Yes, some players need time, but they have to earn that time. Where was all this when Emile Smith-Rowe needed it? Why is everybody crashing the hell end boy? Honestly, my loyalties are with Emile Smith-Rowe because he's earned everything, he's given everything to the club. Why are we backing up someone who's just coming and favoring him? Where was all this? Even when Pepe needed it, where was it? Actually, that's why, just going back at what Ralph and Terry said, on gelling, letting players make this kind of team, like the cohesion. If you watch Emile Smith-Rowe, Edin Nketiah, and Saka, when they just came into the team, those guys had a telepathic understanding. You build on such things as a great manager. You don't kill that. Saka had the privilege because in his position, we haven't had competition. So Saka had time to develop. But Emile Smith-Rowe had that raw talent. So if I was the manager then, or when Emile Smith-Rowe just began, I would have given him much time, the same time that Havertz is getting. But Arteta is not giving it to him. And everybody now is saying, okay, let's give Havertz time, let's give Havertz. He has to end that time. At least he should show some spark, you know. Ball control, even ball control is a problem with him. He hasn't shown me anything worth being in the club, in the first starting lineup. So it's not about me not liking him or not being patient with the player, but he should show us something, some brilliant, like Vieira. Somebody pointed out Vieira showed a magical pass. You know, that brilliance must come out and say, okay, this player's got something. Let's give him time. You know, that's where my argument is.
Yeah. Terry, look at this comment from DWTT. He says that, yes, players are thinking on the pitch, not using muscle memory from practice and reacting to opponents. So, again, they've been drilled. They've been over-drilled. They're not able to think for themselves.
I'd hate to walk back into the dressing room at half-time if I'd done a few things off the cuff, you know, because you'd go, well, that's not the way I've taught you, you know, and that just stultifies creativity and spontaneity, you know.
Yeah.
So
there's
can I just ask something? Can I just ask something?
Sure.
When was the last time we had a goal like Partey scored outside the box?
Yeah.
Those are the things we're talking about. Who takes those shots? You know, who's allowed to take those shots? Sometimes it just can't work into the 16-yard box. We have to take those shots, jump on ricochets. Eddie would be good at that, but we're not taking those shots. We're playing, overthinking everything, and you know, it's costing us.
Let's go into the last segment. There's some business. There's some game tomorrow, I think. Are we playing tomorrow? Yeah, Bournemouth. Dear me. Tell, what's Bournemouth's nickname? What are they called?
The Cherries.
The Cherries. There you go, the Cherries.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Can a cherry beat I don't know, a cannon?
A cannon.
I'm just I don't know. Little thing of cherry.
Tomorrow we're going to go cherry picking.
Enough cherries you probably block a cannon, but
Tim, what's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen tomorrow, Tim? Bournemouth.
Oh, look. Well, I think Arsenal are going to win by 2 goals, and Eddie Nketiah is 3, and he'll get the hat trick. Arsenal should win, really, to be honest.
And listen, Tim calls the North London derby, correct?
Oh, I did.
Right?
I did.
So I'm going with this fella, right?
Believe me, he was very looking at hanging on there for a long time. But
But you're right, Tim. We should beat them, shouldn't we?
Oh, we should beat these.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already had given Fulham and Spurs a day out. How many more are we going to say? We'll give you a shot in the arm there, lads, facing into October. No, this is a win. This is good. This has to be a win and get the. I mean, they really have to start getting the momentum together now, winning matches. Now, I think actually that Rice possibly was like. Jorginho now tomorrow. If Havertz is on his last hurrah, by God, Jorginho must definitely be on it. Like he really offered up the goal, and like he's not going well. I'd say he wouldn't be getting any chance at all. Only Partey and obviously Rice are injured, so he needs a big performance tomorrow. I would say that he actually was on that Chelsea team that won that Champions League as well. Do you remember he was in the middle of it? Well, but he had N'Golo Kante beside him, which was I'd say an easy enough ride, to be honest.
Why do we keep getting Chelsea rejects?
Yes, I'm saying.
Don't know.
W man, you know.
Ralph, what's happening tomorrow? Bournemouth.
I'll do my watch along tomorrow. Make sure my daughter's either in the house or after the match. As long as we don't concede in the first 10 seconds or the first minute.
Oh God!
You know what? It's hard, to me. It's getting hard to call. Every match, every team. I mean, we've got Bournemouth, we've got Lens, We've got Man City after that. We've got Chelsea. We've got Sevilla. We've got Sheffield United, and we've got West Ham. I think before the international break. I don't know how to call this one. Everyone says we should, but then we said that against Fulham. We said that against them down the road as well. It's all about form at the moment in time. If we're short on confidence, we don't, grab the game by the scruff of the neck. It's going to be another long afternoon. I'll call it maybe 2-1. I've got a feeling they're going to score. I've got a feeling they'll probably score first, and then that's when we're going to start playing our game. Then.
All right. Okay. But, there's a question actually coming from Carl. There's also made a donation to the channel. Carl, thank you for that. Question: who's finishing higher in the Premier League, Arsenal or Liverpool? It's going to be close. Great stream. Terry.
Well, do you know what? Liverpool have turned it round.
They have.
After a disappointing season last season, and they are beginning to look like the real deal. Now, of course, the big real deal is City, and it's a question of who's going to finish second to them. And if you're really being serious as an Arsenal fan, if we don't start picking up like 10 matches of constant wins, 3 points, City are going to be off into the distance very soon. So, and if my prediction's right, then it's all about who comes second. Liverpool have got a lot to prove after not being great, but being a half-decent team last season. They've got Van Dijk back. Klopp's always hungry. Do you know what? If we come above Liverpool, we'll be second.
Yeah. And actually, just to jump in there, Darwin Núñez let's just say had a very bad start, and now he's really coming, and he's another big man. Yeah, and they've got Luis Diaz as well, back from India as well. Yeah. Prosper, tomorrow, what's going to happen, man? Bournemouth.
Is Jez number 29 playing? It's all about the dynamics. It's all about the coordination up there. If he's playing, it's going to be a close call. But if he's not playing, I'll go with a 2-1, 2-0 win, or even 3, because there'll be that element of surprise. I mean, Martinelli and Saka have been studied game in, game out, but there'll be young players, fresh legs. It's going to be an easy win if jersey number 29 is not there. Because we need that flow, that teamwork up there. And jersey number 29 doesn't add to the teamwork. He subtracts. So if he's not playing, then it's a straight win. If he's playing, it will be a close one, 2-1, maybe 1-0. But if he's not playing, 2-0 straight.
Terry, for you? Yeah.
Well, Bournemouth's record is very poor. They don't score goals much. Yeah. They let in a lot of goals. I think they've lost 3 matches and drawn 3. So if you look at a form guide, Arsenal playing in a half-decent manner should win it quite at a canter. But
even with the injuries,
I was going to say, our biggest problem is we haven't got anything like the full Arsenal team there. And I know everybody talks about having 22 players, but when Liverpool had a few key players out, they looked a different team, unfortunately for them. And if we don't have Saliba at the back, who I think is an imperious centre-back, and he's still very young, and if we have a few other key players out, then I think we'll still win it, but it's not going to be pretty. And I'm afraid number 29 is probably going to play.
Yeah. John Laguna, actually a good stat here. Bukayo Saka, 87th consecutive game. I mean, when are we going to give this boy a real rest, Tim? He deserves a rest.
That is unbelievable. And actually, that was one of the ones last year as well. He ran out of steam. He really ran. I forgot about that. Saliba. We were all thinking about Saliba at the back, which he lost. He lost his mojo or whatever phrase you want to use. He was carrying a team. Jesus was injured. You can't. And the worst than that, he's also carrying the English team. He's playing all their matches as well. So it's continuous. Now he's an unbelievable player. He's playing well. Now I know he got the deflection for the goal, but like he scores a bit. So he contributes right across the range. And tracks back. He does everything. Like I mean, if I know Arteta expects these players to work back and work up and everything, but let's be honest, the enthusiasm that himself and Odegaard have for it is exceptional. They're hardworking, honest players, and they set the tone and create a culture that ultimately could make Arsenal very, very hard to beat. But they themselves have to be minded like.
Absolutely. Right, let's go through these last comments here in the live chat before I wrap up this latest segment of the Easy Talk. So here's some latest news. I won't say breaking news from Emerson. Latest news: Rice travelled to Bournemouth with the squad, but no news on the other players who travelled or who are injured. And then Glenwyn says players like Rice, Timber did not have injury history at their previous clubs. What are we doing wrong?
Well, that's the key question. And rumour has it that if you walk past the Arsenal dressing room as an ordinary punter, the first thing that happens is your hamstring goes.
Glenwood says, Ralph, Thierry said that Arsene told me to look at Dennis Vieira, etc., to understand their strengths and not my ability only. That's a good quote, actually.
Yeah.
And maybe the last one, Carl says, Bournemouth have one of the best future managers. He will be at a big club very, very soon. And Emerson says, Bournemouth will make it hard for us to get a win. And if any of you saw the League Cup win, then I worry if we do not get our tactics right. Then we need to speak and have a word of, not the number 29, but Mikel Arteta. And you know what, guys? We've actually come on in to this latest version of the Easy Talk. The H-Men back in the house.
Hey!
Hey! Prosper, is there anything else you want to get off your chest before we wrap it up?
No, not really. I mean, for me, Arsenal comes before any other thing. You know, we're all here because of Arsenal. And if we forget it's about football and we take it personal, then we're losing the point. I mean, everybody wants to see Arsenal get the Premier League. Everyone wants to see Arsenal get our first Champions League trophy, you know? So if things aren't going right, let's call it out. Let's just not be fans who celebrate mediocrity, you know? But let's call it out in our dressing rooms and say, guys, I think we're goofing here, you know? But when we're out there, we stand up with the boys. But when we're in our own dressing room, we say, guys, we're goofing. We here dress ourselves, you know? I think that's the best way to go about it. But if we keep flattering ourselves, as our team said it, we needed a center forward 2 seasons ago. There's no center forward till today. And then we're not calling the shots to say, look, we had this problem last season, we had this problem the previous season. Why aren't we doing anything about it? Right now, Napoli has a bad vibe with their center forward. Why isn't Arsenal pushing for that January transfer for that center forward? They'll stay quiet. The next thing you see, we're getting another left winger on Martinelli's side when we have got Trossard there. We've got a lot of players there. Whilst we don't have a centre forward, whilst we don't have a backup for Saka, whilst we don't have another defending midfielder. You see, those are the things that really get to me. You know, why are we getting one position, so many players that we can't even play them, they're staying on bench, decent players, yet other positions are lacking. So let's not forget it's about football. You know, and just go, okay, because I love Havertz, probably we're related or something, but we have to call it out. If Havertz performs, I'll stand up for him, you know, but right now he's not performing. Then there's no one I'm going to ask Emile Smith-Rowe because I just don't like him or something like that. But let's look at merit. It's all about merit. Let players own that position, ain't it? Yeah.
Terry, so, you know, at the beginning of the show, you spoke about the bigger picture is, listen, just keep top 4, keep the money rolling, and we're all quids in. Now, I know it's documented that my mate over here, Liam Brady, he said that he just didn't believe that Arsenal and Terry Neal at the time had the ambition to win the league. Do you think, I know it's a difficult question, but you think Liam Brady would have just been happy just to play for Arsenal, knowing fully well that we weren't going to go and win the Premier League?
Well, I think in Brady's time, it was more obvious because all the teams around us were paying massive money and they weren't being funded by the Qataris or the Emirates. But there's very little doubt, if you step back and think about it, that Kroenke's in the business of top four. Kroenke's in the business of Champions League, and Kroenke is in the business of his teams earning as much money as possible. And as I said, there is this new league coming, lads. I don't know when it's going to be here. I can't predict how soon that sort of train is entering the station, but it definitely is. Arsenal got on board straight away. Was it 2 years ago when it was mooted? Arsenal got on there. Man United, Liverpool, all these teams got on straight away. Of course they will, because the guys running them love making money. Yes, they love their sports, whatever. Stan Kroenke is involved in several sports, but at the end of the day, the real buzz he gets is from building an empire, and it's an empire built on the old greenback, the dollar. So that's coming, and the bottom line for Arteta is get them into the top four. And if it was about silverware, he could have put out a good team in all these League Cup matches, both the one we've just done and the one coming up, because I love silverware. I want to see Arsenal lifting cups, and I have no problem at all if they're lifting up the League Cup. And to me, I know it hasn't got the sort of glamour, but that's press talk. That's press talk, about the glamour of the FA Cup. Listen, it's a cup, and at the end of the day, normally one of the best league teams in the EPL win it. Yeah. So go for the League Cup. And I would have thought Mr. Stanley Kroenke would be very happy with a trophy this season, a League Cup or an FA Cup, and then a top four. Then he's quite happy keeping us in that top four.
All right. And finally, Ralph, thank you, bro, for coming on the show. Are you going to be doing your watch along tomorrow? What time are you starting?
I believe it. Is it 3 o'clock kickoff? Yes, it is. Yeah, so about quarter two. Warm up. Make sure that the right streams. I get these matches are legal and the and no interruptions. If I've got my wingman as well, Ashley D, has been looking after me. Yeah, all well and good. And then we'll see where we are. We'll see where this team's gonna. There's always just one thing. We always seem to make it a bit hard on ourselves. We always seem to give opposition, if they haven't won a match, if they haven't scored for so many hours and everything else. So this little cauldron of banana skins potentially could be, one where we will make it hard on ourselves, depending on who, what the team sheet is. And how Arteta sets us up, because we've got another match later in the week as well. So let's see. Let's be a bit optimistic, but let's be a bit cautious as well.
Brilliant. So that's it. That's the the latest segment of the Easy Talk. I got to see the H-Men back on the channel. Hey!
Guys, what do you think of that rugby? Because you guys, you played well against South Africa last weekend.
Oh yeah. Yeah, very good. Yeah. They could beat New Zealand now. Like they've been playing New Zealand now to beat Scotland, so they could end up in a semi-final. People are predicting it could be a South Africa-Ireland final again.
Yeah.
We're Peter Mahoney now and Ty Burner from Munster. They're from our province here. So.
I say, watch out for the Welsh boys. The Welsh boys could sneak.
Oh, oi, boy!
Down the valleys.
Prosper, thank you so very much for giving us your time. I know we had a bit of a misfiring start early in the week, but we got you on the platform. You got to release everything you wanted to say about number 29. Come in, number 29.
I only hope he gets to that level, you know.
Yeah.
We need a tall striker.
Yeah. All right, that's it, guys. The next time you will be seeing me will be next week, Monday. I don't do any stuff over the weekend. I leave that to my brother, my big brother. Nice one. Anyway, guys, do you have a little ditty for us before we end the show?
Oh, a song. Well, actually, what about Claire one?
Well, flower on. I won't be joining in.
Myself and Tim are here in County Clare, and it stopped raining, so that's what cheering about.
Exactly.
And I suppose one of our theme songs, anyway, would be "Oh, my lovely Rosa Clare, you're the sweetest girl I know. We were the champions of all Ireland," but I really can't remember when.
Nice one, guys. It's good to see you guys back anyway. So that's it, people. I will see you next week, Monday. And hopefully, when I do a Monday show, we might be talking about a win against Bournemouth. But who knows in football? This has been Cannon Fodder, the channel for Arsenal fans all over this world. Come on, you Gunners! Come on, get it!
Get that